Hey, everybody. So, what I'm doing here is I'm going to be talking to any individual who pops up on this monkey app. And the topic is going to be morality. Where do morals come from? And whatever answer they give me, I'm going to examine their answer, criticize their answer, if it is not my answer, which is that morality comes from God. That is the only correct answer. You can't you can't actually deal with all the problems that come with any other answer. So we are going to be examining what they say, and this is a comparison of worldviews. The Bible says in First Corinthians chapter 10 verse 5 that we should tear down every argument that rises up against the knowledge of God and take every thought captive to his lordship. So we're going to get into this right now, and we are going to do this for maybe 30 minutes. So this video will not be too long. So let's see who our first person will be.
Come from your inner
Yeah.
side. That shit come
Yeah. Where do you think
from
morals come from?
your beliefs.
All right. All right. Can I ask you a follow-up question?
Yeah. What's up?
If two people have different beliefs about morality, one says it's okay to hit old women on the knees with bats, and one says no, that's wrong. Which one of those two individuals would you say is right?
I'm gonna say, the. Oh, you said old ladies in the knee.
Old lady, the guy says, "Hey, it is right for me to hit old women in the knees with baseball bats." The other guy says,
That's
"No,
wrong.
that's wrong."
Yeah, that's wrong. That's wrong.
They have two conflicting beliefs about morality. Who's right?
The person saying that's wrong.
All right. I would agree
That's
with
it.
you.
The
I would agree with you.
yeah.
But if someone says to you and I, "Hey man, by what standard are the two of you judging that baseballs hitting women on their knees is wrong? Baseball bats. Is it just your opinion, or is there an ultimate standard of morality, like a law, that can say this action is wrong?"
I'm gonna say that's my in today's society. That's my opinion because a lot of people would do that shit. I'll say we in a fucked up world right now.
I agree
So
with you, man. I definitely agree with you. Definitely agree with you. I guess the problem with that would be if the world thought that morality is just based on individual opinion, then anyone could do whatever they want as long as they could handle the consequences.
yeah, hell yeah, that's what America is. You can do whatever the fuck you want as long as you can handle what you're doing.
Do you think that? Well, actually, I wouldn't say that is because there's a government over there. You have a government, and the government, if they catch the criminals, is usually um, justice that's exhibited, justice that's given. Oh man, he's gone. What I was gonna say was that in America there's a law, and you can't just break the law without consequences. That is why there is some law and order in America. Example, if you steal someone's car, you will be charged with a crime. But if you and as well, if you steal someone's money, you'll be charged with a crime. So there is like a regulation of behavior from the government in America. That's what I was gonna say, but he skipped. Hey man, where do you think morals come from?
Morals. Child and error. I don't know.
What childhood?
Nah. What do you think? Let me hear your answer first, and I'll tell you what I still thought.
Okay, my answer is morals come from God. God gives us a law for us to follow, and that's the standard of
Cause you're conscious,
morality.
right?
And he has written that law on our conscience as well. But if anyone
Okay.
says anything other than that, I would like to know what you say to that. Do you say something else?
Yeah, I was saying trial and error.
Oh, trial
Like,
and that's what you said. I thought you said child. Child,
no, I
something with
said trial
child.
and error because
Trial
once
and
you do something and like at first you really don't like if somebody's never taught you that that's bad when you first do it and you never knew it was bad, like you have a feeling of that wasn't right. You know what I mean?
Okay. Let me ask you a follow-up question on that answer. If
Okay.
morality is from trial and error, how would you deal with the problem of uncertainty? What I mean is this: you can never know if right now what you believe is right or wrong is true because you might still be in the process of trial and error.
What was the question though?
The question is, how do you deal with the problem of uncertainty, not knowing if what you
Um,
believe right now about morality is true, since you could be
truly,
in the same process of trial and error?
yeah, for a fact, I definitely understand what you're saying. Honestly, with me, I'm like I'm spiritual. Like I pray. Like I know I'm not like I don't know it all, and I'll never be able to know it all. And I'm definitely not gonna walk the same path as Jesus did, or the Lord before. You know what I mean? Like I'm not God Himself. Like I'm definitely gonna be wrong a lot, but I just pray and ask God to help me learn. You know what I mean? So
I
hopefully
understand.
something comes up where what teaches me that. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like I'm 25 now. Like it took a lot for me to like understand as much as I do now, and I still have a lot of bad habits, but I I understand that like, oh, this is really bad. You need to cut this off, and I'm starting to like brush away more and more from a lot of things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I guess my response to that would be there is no way for us to know all things for certain, but we can know some things for certain. We
Yeah,
can't have all knowledge, but we can have some knowledge. And if you
yeah,
base your knowledge on the standard of God's word, then whatever you know for certain because you have that knowledge from a source that has all knowledge. So whatever they
yeah,
say is true all the time and everywhere. And as it
yeah.
relates to
And that,
morality, because God
yeah,
has given us a moral standard, we can be sure and certain what's wrong and what's right if we base our morality from what he says. But if we dismiss his word, then all we're left with is subjectivity and the problem of uncertainty that I brought up earlier, of not knowing if you are still in the trial and error process. And right now, what you believe could be wrong until you find out what's right. So just to throw that in there.
definitely.
Definitely. Thank you, Matt. Good answer.
Man, thank you for the conversation. Stay blessed.
Thank you, bro. God bless you too.
Thank you.
Where do you think morals come from?
Ah, okay. You know, my English is not that well, man. I don't know how to explain it, bro.
All right, all right, all right, all right. I
Is that
understand. No worries.
no?
Are
I can
you
say like
Muslim
no, bro. No, I'm Christian.
or Christian? Okay, the right answer is morality comes from God. That's the
Yes.
right answer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a good answer, actually.
That's the right answer. That's the right answer. I'm a Christian too, so I gotta help out a brother.
Thank you, man.
No problem, man. Have a good day. All right.
You too, bro.
Yeah, I had to help out a brother. Yeah. Let's see who else we get. Where do you think morals come from? Oh, he's gone. Okay, he was not interested in the question. He's not interested either. He just left as well. The moment he came, he left. So I thought we had one, but we don't. Let's see what who the next one is.
Excellent.
Hey guys, you speak English? Okay, they're gone. Let's see who the next one is. Where do you think morals come from?
Who?
Where do you think morals come from?
Morals?
Yeah, like
I
the innate instinct of wrong and right. Like when you think that something is wrong as opposed to being right, those feelings, those dispositions, those perspectives, where do they come from?
I think it firstly comes from the family and secondly from school and the environment.
All right, let me examine that a little bit. If morality comes from the family, would you say that whatever you were taught by your family as to what's wrong and right is the correct way all the time?
I mean, there's a saying that says all children deserves a parent, but not all parent deserves a children. So parenting is not always right, and
Okay.
what's taught not is not always right. Okay, and I think it really depends on the kind of what kind of person they are in real life.
Okay, good answer. Good answer. I like that response. So my follow-up would be, if there's a possibility for parents to raise their children in the wrong way, and there's a possibility for parents to raise their children in the right way, what standard, what objective absolute standard is there to distinguish between a bad parent and a good parent? What's that standard?
I mean, I myself, I'm a son, of course. So from my perspective, I think parents should be able to communicate and be friends with their children. I think that's where the crucial part is because not all children like to get yelled at because of the things that they do in the real life. Like if you
Well,
do something wrong or something
I guess
wrong,
the problem
yeah.
would be if someone says morality comes from how you were raised, and how you were raised can be wrong or right,
Mhm.
then how you were raised can't be where morality comes from, because there is a moral standard they can judge between a wrong parent raising and a bad parent raising. Whatever that standard is would be where morals come from, like the moral standard. I would say, this is my answer: morality comes from God, and his law is what distinguishes right and wrong. And if your parents raise you wrong, it means that they were breaking the law of God. If they raise you right, it means they were following the law of God. But if you take out God's law, all you have is subjectivity and no way of knowing if a parent is wrong or right in how they raise their kids.
Well, I think morality does not come directly from God's plan because not a lot of people consciously do that in their real life. Most of the people has their own sense of morality or their own sense of thinking about it, their
And the way we know that
behavior
they're
and
wrong or
something
right
like
is
that.
by saying, this is what God's law says. If you do X, Y, Z that contradicts his law, then you're wrong. I agree with you. There are people in the world who have their own morals and their own moral standards and so on and so forth. But if they contradict God's objective, absolute, eternal standard, then they would be wrong. They would be wrong because God's standard is beyond all other standards. And one could say that someone doesn't know God's standard, therefore they create their own. They would still be wrong in their actions when they break God's law. Because, I mean, he created you, he created me, so he has the right to tell us how to live, you know?
Yeah, I understand it, but I think most of the people don't do it on consciousness. They just follow what they think is right or wrong. I mean, of course, there is a objective way of thinking and behavior,
Right.
but I think most of the people just doesn't follow a straight path. They just find it out by themselves. Like for
And I
myself,
guess you and I would
I'm
say that when they are not following a right path or a straight path, they are wrong until they find the right path and the straight path. And the right and straight path would be the path of God and his law, right?
Well, of course, at the end of the day, everybody finds a way of living, and everybody finds their own, truth of life or what they live for. So
So would you
Thus
say that
means
there? Would you say because you just made a proposition that everyone can find their own way and they can find a path and their own way of living. On that, which is a subjective proposition, would you say that when someone finds their way of living, even if it is not how God says in his law they are supposed to live, is that person right in how they have decided to live their life, regardless of what God says?
well, God is infinite, and God decides all, and God doesn't really work the way human brain can comprehend it. So I think if a person lives their life that they think they should live, whether it's morally good or morally bad, I think at the end of the day, the only way to find out is to just die, go to heaven, and find out, because you can't really just say that it's well, you are going to heaven or hell, because if you need to be personally in touch with something to decide that if your life was good or bad, because you can't really know what kind of person you were until you die. And I think you
All
can't
right.
really just be totally sure about if your life is good or bad.
Let me respond to that. To say that you can't know if you're doing wrong or right until you die and meet God and find out is to deny that God has revealed to every human being in his word, the Bible, what he expects from us and how he wants us to live. For example, because I'm Christian, I can look at my life and map it on to the Bible and see if there are any deficiencies in my life. And where I find those deficiencies, I can be certain that this is what God doesn't want. And where I find those consistencies, I can say, this is what God wants. So I can know while I'm alive what God is pleased with and what he's not pleased with. But if you go the opposite route and say there's no way of knowing, then what you're essentially doing is you're just figuring it out as you go along, and nothing
Gambling.
that you do in this life can be identified as wrong or right. They're just morally neutral. Even if it's stealing or murdering, it's morally neutral because you don't know if it's wrong or right because you haven't died yet and met God. But I wouldn't say that's the right way to go.
But I mean, there are some objective ways of thinking about such things, because it doesn't matter what you steal or buy. Ha, işim var da birazdan atarım. Birazdan atarım. Aslında. Yaxşı? Uh, I mean, there are some objective ways of knowing if a thing is wrong or right, because I mean, killing is not justified, okay? And I'm Muslim and you're Christian. We both came from monotheism, from Abraham,
Oh,
right? And
now I see. Now I see. Now I understand the reason why you said you can't know until you die, because you believe as a Muslim that there is a scale. You have to weigh your works on scales on that day of judgment. If your good deeds outweigh your bad deeds, then you go to Jannah, and if the bad deeds
Mhm.
outweigh the good deeds, then you go to torment, and so on and so forth. So that's why I understand now. And I should have started with that. I should have asked you what your
Uh,
religious
I,
affiliation
I don't
is.
really want to blame it on my Islamic side of me. I just want to say that you can do what you think is right based on the religious books or any other religion in that matter. But I think you can't really be sure that you can go to this, or you will be prized, or you will be
I
looked
mean,
down
that's what
at. You
Muslims
can't
say.
really know
That's what
that.
Muslims say. The Christian
Yeah,
says that
and
he or she is absolutely sure where he will go when he dies, or where she will go when she dies, because they can map on their life to what the scripture says. But the Muslim can't know, because your good deeds have to outweigh your bad deeds. And you can't know if your good deeds have gotten to that point where they outweigh your bad deeds. So you will only know when you die and Allah is standing
inshallah.
before you, or you're standing before him, and he's telling you that, here, look at your deeds. The scales are off balance. It's the only way you'll know. But the Christian can know based upon the fact that Christ died for them, and he lived for them. And by trusting in him and repenting of their sins, they can be certain of where they will go when they die. But I love this conversation. I'm glad that you said that. But I think as a Muslim, your immediate answer to the question of morality would be this: morality comes from Allah, and He has revealed that in the Quran. That would be the consistent Muslim answer.
Well,
That would be the consistent Muslim answer.
but I'm Muslim. That well, let's say this. I'm trying to be a good Muslim, but there are not a lot of Muslim out there who are trying to be better. And I think this outright saying is the deeds come from Allah. Um, Most of the people wouldn't agree with that because that's well, if you think about it, it's just a subjective way of thinking. If I said that because I'm a Muslim, but you are a Christian or he's a Jew or he is something like that, their answers will be different. So it's at the end of the day, of course. Anyway, it's still going to be a subjective way of thinking, but I think that would be a I don't know the English translation of the word I want to say.
Well, I can
I
respond to
think
what you
you
said
get it.
earlier. It's you say it's a subjective way of thinking because you'll hear a different answer from a Muslim, a Jew, and a Christian about what the moral
Yeah.
standard is.
If I
The,
want
the,
to
the,
be a
the,
better Muslim, yeah, sure, go ahead.
what I would say to that is the Muslim and the Jew and the Christian all say that their faith is based upon the same source. The Muslim says that Jesus Christ is a prophet and he came with the Injil, and the Injil is the gospel. And before him, there was Moses and Abraham, the prophets, and they revealed what we have to us in the Old Testament. And the New Testament, according to Muslims, has been corrupted. And Jesus Christ is not the Son of God, and we are not supposed to worship him. The Quran has revealed what the truth is, and so on and so forth, which is a continuation from the Old Testament prophets of the Bible.
Yeah.
The Jews, they believe in the Old Testament,
Jew.
but they don't believe in the New Testament. So the Christians, the Jews, and the Muslims all follow the same source to an extent, which means that all we have to do is compare our various foundational presuppositions about God and his word and see which one is correct. The only way I would agree with you about subjectivity is with a completely disconnected faith and perspective from Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Yeah, but all three of us fundamentally believe things from the same source, even though we may disagree on certain portions of that source. What I would say is to dismantle all of the as I would say, the confusion and the blur between the lines of our distinctions. All of us sit down, have a conversation, and see what the foundational presuppositions are about Allah, about God, about Yahweh, and come to a conclusion about which one is consistent and which one is inconsistent. Because an example I could give is this. In the Quran, it says that the Christians are to judge from what is written in the Injil. But if we judge from what is written in the Injil, from what is written in the New Testament, which we have, which the Muslims say has been corrupted, then if we judge by that, we are going to come to the conclusion that the Quran contradicts the New Testament, because the New Testament says that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and the Quran says Jesus Christ is not the Son of God. So I guess what we would have to do is go into history and look and see if there's actually evidence for this supposed corruption that the Muslims say the New Testament has been through. And after we've done that, then we can draw conclusions about whether or not the Muslims are right or the Christians are right. But this dialogue is not about that. We're talking about morality and so on and so forth.
Yeah, the conversation went up.
Yeah, we don't want to go into that right now. I love your hospitality. You're very respectful, very loving, and
Yeah, sure.
you are exemplary of what every Muslim should be: peaceful, respectful, and so on. And I'm glad we had this conversation. We have some things to think about and so on. But I guess what I was going to respond to was the whole fact of subjectivity. If Islam is true, if that religion is true, and Allah is the true God, then that would have to mean that every other religion, by implication, is false and every other God is false. If Allah is the true God and Islam is the right religion, everything else has to be wrong. If everything else is not wrong, then all of us are just different slices of the same cake, and we're all going to heaven when we die if nothing is wrong. But if Islam is right, as I said, everything else has to be wrong. And if Christianity is right and Yahweh, our God, is the true God, then every other
Then
religion has to
I'm
be.
gambling with everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I'm
So
gambling. Yeah.
that's just basic logic. If something is true, then that means anything that contradicts it
The
is
rest
wrong.
is false. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we draw that line and we say, okay, if I'm right, you're wrong. If you're right, I'm wrong. Then we can have a conversation about the differences and see which one is consistent and which one is inconsistent. But that's not for this conversation. But you know, I love this conversation and how we agreed. So let me ask you a question. This is a simple question. I don't know what salam alaikum means. What does that mean?
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You mean that?
No, when I say
Sallallahu
salam
alaihi
alaikum,
wasallam.
what does that
Salam
mean?
alaikum. Hello in the name of Allah.
Hello in the name of
Yeah,
Allah.
I mean, salam in the name of Allah. Salam means hello, so I just translated that. In
Yeah.
the name of Allah, you say salam. Salam alaikum.
And
Yeah.
and okay. So hello in the name of Allah. And when you respond by saying Malaikum Masalam, did I say it right?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
And it's the same thing. And salam in the name of Allah, and hello to you by the name of Allah.
So if
And
I
it's a
say
response.
salam alaikum and you say walaikum masalam, we're both saying hello in the name of Allah to each other.
Name of Allah. Yeah.
Okay.
And
I didn't know what that meant.
There's also a long version of it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wow.
And it
Wow. That's a
means,
lot. I'm not gonna remember that one. I'm not gonna.
it's
I
a
won't
long
remember
one.
that one.
And it also means that hello in the name of Allah who gives us, barakat. I don't know what barakat is in English.
Is that
Barakat.
life?
Can you search it? Barakat? Yeah, like
Who gives us life and peace and health?
yeah, food, these type
Okay.
of things. Like,
I see.
yeah,
So
you know, understand.
Allah who gives
But
us
I don't know what
sustenance and stuff.
barakat is in English.
That's okay, man. That's okay. Thank you so much for your time, my friend. And I'm gonna
Thank you
say
so much.
salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
All right, man. Have a good
do you-
one, okay? Bless you. All right, everybody. So this concludes our discussion about morality and whether or not it's subjective, objective, whether or not it comes from God or it comes from family or it comes from opinions and so on and so forth. And I hope that you've learned how to respond to objections and answers that come up that are directly similar to what came up in this particular video. All right, so we're done for now, and it was a productive conversation, especially the last one. And I am glad that this was a good day. Anyways, I will see you all in the next one. Don't know what I'm going to be posting the next time I do, but it's definitely going to be interactions again. All right, God bless you all, and until next time.